Good evening. Welcome, everyone. Dadman Walking 55 here for another Friday night of football. We kept it going through, I don't know, the fall, even though we changed the nights, and then the end of the NFL season. And hey, why not? We are now in the XFL season. Spring football at its finest. Well, sometimes not at its finest, but hey, it's still football in the spring. And who knows more about XFL football than the great guy here, Woopah Troopah? How are you, Woopah?
Hello, howdy.
Hey, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, doing good. Ready for the weekend. Very happy for it to be here.
All right. Y'all had a home game this last weekend, right?
Yeah, we was chilling out at the game. Had an interesting time for sure. Uh, we've got another one this week and another one the week after. And hello to Snortapoopus in the chat. Hello.
Hello back. Absolutely. So, hey, welcome. Welcome, Snortapoop. It's always great to have you here, my friend. And hey, because he actually came in earlier with a little snuffles and peers in, but he's there. And Stunning and Brave, Pegatron. Hey, welcome, dude. Good to see you. Good to see you very much. So, yeah, Whoopa, we're at week. This is week. God, it's week 8 is over
It's
now,
about,
right?
well, yeah, this is the week 8
Yeah,
review.
it's a week. 8/10 of the season is over. We're down to the last 2 weeks, and a lot changed this week. Last week we were talking about possibilities of how some teams could still be in it and some could be eliminated. I mean, it went from some could still be in playoff contention to being eliminated, and then others who were winning the division could be falling back to the pack. And really, a lot of things shook out this week, didn't they?
Yeah, we had a lot of we had two winner go home games, and we had a couple of teams trying to uh, punch their ticket into the playoffs. Up to this point, no one had clinched the playoffs and no one was eliminated from the playoffs. But well, if we'll stick around, we'll be able to tell you if any of that changed. So
Yeah, and that's awfully late in the season for 7/10 of a season to be over 7 of 10 games to have that much still unresolved. Usually, somebody has either been eliminated or guaranteed themselves a spot.
yeah,
A team like Houston, who looked like they were going to walk away, then has come back to the pack and very looks very pedestrian on offense now.
yeah, especially a team. I mean, one of the teams that still had a chance started the season 0-6. When you lose six of your first, six of your games, and you have a 10-game season, and usually it's not a recipe for success. But going into this week, they still had a chance to make the playoffs, and honestly, a pretty good chance. So,
Yeah, and we'll see this week how it worked out for them, whether they are still alive or not, or if they got blown out, or if they won, or yeah, we'll have to see how that goes.
yep.
So absolutely, but hey, thank you. We got 4 people watching us now, and if you are not familiar with our show, we're taking a look at the Spring Football League, the XFL, that had been around in 2 forms before. Last was in 2020. And this year was brought back, I think, The Rock, and there was another famous person, that were responsible for bringing the league back, and they brought it back to 8 cities uh, for this season. A lot of the rules are still the same. There's some different things um, going on, and it's hard to consider anything normal from 2020. So it's it's quite a new season, I would say. And we a few
Mhm.
weeks ago talked about some of the differences between 2020, the way the home games were 2020 and 2022. If there's somebody new with us, do you mind taking talking about that, like some of the differences now that you've been through 2 or 3 home games? Uh, what are
Three
the
home games now.
3 home games? How much different does it feel than 2020? I mean, either from a feel or from actually the game day operations.
It definitely feels like they're being a little more frugal. Like we haven't had any. rally towel since the home opener, which is frustrating just because those things are fun. It gives you something to do instead of just shout. You can wave your flags. I think it helps get people into it. That's the biggest thing I've noticed. Other than that, everyone thinks pretty similar. They don't have. This is one thing that's interesting. They obviously have the player interviews on TV, but in the 2020 they had some player interviews on the field as well to talk to the fans. They'd interview. I remember we had our punter interview once. They'd just get the players to hype up the crowd a bit. And
who talks to a punter, by the way? You there, Woopah?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I thought it was something. But a question I had right there that I had to interject. Who talks to a punter? It's kind of funny.
It's definitely rare. It's pretty fun. But they haven't had much of that. They do still have it like the end of games, or at the beginning of games sometimes, where they get a player to talk to the crowd and hype them up. But I missed the little like in-game interviews. And also, one more thing is they had some celebrities, at least some St. Louis celebrities, in the house for 2020. We had Torrey Holt was the biggest one. Torrey Holt came in and talked to the crowd before the game. I don't think there's really been anyone like that lately. Overall, I think you can definitely tell the XFL, the team that The Rock has around him doesn't quite have the money that Vince McMahon had around him. So Vince McMahon, I think, threw around some weight a little bit more, while The Rock is, trying to make sure he doesn't go bankrupt.
Well, that's a smart thing. And for people that may not know, Torrey Holt was is he making the Hall of Fame yet? Torrey Holt, definitely Pro Bowl.
Not yet, but he should be.
Yeah, wide receiver, very famous wide receiver, had a great NFL career. And I think he played here a year in Jacksonville, too, near the end of his career. But he was a great wide receiver. And for St. Louis, that would be a star celebrity since he played probably most of his career there in St. Louis with the Rams.
Yeah, the vast majority of his career, part of the greatest show on turf.
Mm-hmm.
He stuck around while the Rams were still pretty bad. So, yeah, he's a big deal here.
Absolutely.
He's probably, I'd say he's at least top 5 most famous St. Louis football players. I mean, all of them would be on that greatest show on turf team, besides maybe Steven Jackson. But yeah, he's in a lot of company with a lot of Hall of Famers, or should be future Hall of Famers.
Wasn't Kurt Warner the quarterback of those teams?
Yep, Kurt Warner, running back, Marshall Faulk, wide receivers, Isaac Bruce, and Torrey Holt.
Of course, Kurt Warner is famous for being the bag boy story.
Oh, yeah. It's a pretty big deal. There's a movie about it now. I want to go watch it at some point.
Yeah, it came out a few years ago. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, about a story where he, got a second chance. They found him at a grocery store, and he got a break. He played arena football too, and got a break. Mm-hmm. A lot of times that's what it comes down to is getting the break, getting your number called at the right time. I mean, look, Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick playing with on the bench and behind Drew Bledsoe, and then Bledsoe got hurt and never got his job back.
Oh yeah, no, that's a big deal that happens to a lot of players. Even Kurt Warner later, near the end of his Rams career, was playing through an injury because he knew how he came into the league, and he didn't want to get replaced by another quarterback.
Yep, exactly. Do what you have to do, stay on the field, and keep producing. So, absolutely. So, hey, let's see. I think we've got everybody here that's here with us right now still. I haven't seen anybody else new show up. We still got 4 people with us. We're both on Twitch and on YouTube. So if on the Twitch side, make sure you follow us there. On the YouTube side, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And we got plenty of other content on the channel. We just did short Fortnite stream a little while ago. We will be doing Fortnite again later tonight, a late night version, um, to replace my normal Friday night appearances elsewhere. So more, talk about that later down the road. But for now, we got football. Football aplenty, my friend. With that, Woopah, why don't we go ahead and get started and look back at the week that was then, and we'll greet people as they come in.
All right. Yep, I'm ready to go.
All right, and we'll bring it up here. There you go.
All right. So
Yay. Well, look, quick before we get started, we got the Padawannabe shows up. Hey, every good quarterback has to play through injury, even if the team is mediocre, no matter what level. That is so true. Absolutely. But welcome. Welcome. All right, Woopah, sorry about that. Go ahead.
No problem. So let's get to the first game of the week, and this was the Battlehawks taking down the Vegas Vipers in overtime, 21-17. This was the first overtime game we've ever had in the XFL, or at least with the new rules. I don't know how far back with 2001, but at least since they introduced the new rules.
And the new rules, just so that people know, in their overtime, it's not like the NFL, we kick it off and one possession at least and whatever sudden death type thing, or like college with the Kansas tiebreakers from the 25-yard lines. This is almost like a penalty kick in soccer or a shootout in NHL hockey, where it's like a best of three basically, and you choose either the 2-yard line for 1 point, the 5-yard line for 2 points, and
in the OT,
or is it just from the 5-yard line?
In OT, it's all from the 5-yard.
Okay, all right. So it's 2 points. It's 2-point conversions from the 5-yard line better, but it is like a penalty kick thing where you get one shot and then it's alternating, right? Yep. So how was that to watch? How was that to watch in this case? Because we're used to penalty kicks in soccer or shootouts in hockey, but how was it watching this in football?
It was honestly very exciting. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's somewhat similar to the college rules, and while I'm not a huge fan of the new college rules, I do think that college has the better system than NFL when it comes to overtime. I do, plenty of people have pointed out it's kind of silly when, OT, the team could just get the ball first and then score first and then it's over. Like, well, the other team didn't even get a chance. You didn't, you lost pretty much because you lost a coin toss. That's not very fair.
And see, I'm from the generation, and see, that'd be a good one for us to have a good knockdown, drag out debate on, because see, I'm from the old generation of, well, you just play defense. You get out there, you stop the other guy, get the ball back, and then go for it. You have a chance to stop them. Your defense gets out there and they stop them. If you can't stop them, that's the way the game goes. But to me, and I'm a traditionalist. I don't like things changing like that. But so that's why I don't like the new NFL rules. I didn't like college, but I mean, when they do it, you have to kind of adjust to it. The NFL, I mean, I don't know. I just still like the thing of you still have to play defense and you have the opportunity to get the ball back and score yourself. But because defense is part of playing the game, but even now in the NFL, at least one thing with the NFL rule that I don't mind is that if you get a touchdown, if you get the first possession and you score a touchdown, then they call the game over. I'm okay with that. I mean, at least that gives somebody credit for actually trying to score a touchdown, because I do understand what would happen. A lot of times people get the 35-yard line, kick a 50-something yard field goal, win the game. So, and that can be, that can be kind of, I can see how people don't like it, but I'm just an old curmudgeon stuck in his ways. So, you guys are the future. But this one, it's like, I watched it on TV, and I will say another thing, Woopah, that stadium y'all had was rocking out during that overtime. I mean, I watched some of the other games. There's no crowd or the noise when but y'all were really loud, like an NFL or definitely a Division I college game in that stadium.
Mm-hmm. No, we've had a lot of guys showing out, and I think it's just with the OT. First of all, it being not never happening before, and second of all, we just had a lot of momentum riding into this. The Battlehawks didn't play great the whole time, so it was good to see. It was good to see people. Once we got tied back up, I think most of the game, it felt like, wow, we're really going to lose to this team. And then once we tied it up, I think everyone in the stadium was like, yeah, we've got this.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say hello to the missus. Hello, Mrs. Hey, how are you tonight? And the Padawannabe says it's special teams shouldn't even be allowed in overtime, which is what this does, Padawannabe. The way the XFL overtime rules is, there is no special team. You have one play from the 5-yard line. And but you and I've talked about it. It seemed like there was a penalty on one that kind of you wondered if it almost seemed too hard where you don't get a second chance if you're the offense to commit a penalty. So, and did that happen in your game?
Mm-hmm. That happened in our game.
Explain that. What happened on that thing, and we'll talk about why we kind of thought it was a little unfair because I think it happened to Vegas actually.
Yeah, so I thought it was a little soft at the time, but when I saw the replay, I could tell. Okay, definitely, it was definitely a penalty. He just pushed the cornerback and then immediately turned right, and then the cornerback, obviously just got pushed. He's off balance, but so he pushed off the guy, did a quick post, and caught a conversion. But the refs threw the flag and called offensive pass interference. And what happened was that just meant it didn't convert. They counted that as a missed conversion. They didn't get a chance to redo it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is kind of odd because normally even what would happen in a scoring play like that when the offense scores, whether it's a conversion or a regular play from scrimmage, the penalty has to be accepted and they retry the down. I mean, like if he had dropped the ball, they'd wave off the penalty, say decline the penalty, and it'd be no good. But in this case, they can't. That was odd that they did that because I have not seen that in any other overtime in any other league or something. And that's kind of where we were talking a little bit. This seemed kind of a little bit unfair to the offense. I mean, I guess in one way it means you better not commit a penalty. You better watch what you're doing. But it just seems a little harsh. Do you think, or what do you think on that? Looking back at it,
yeah, it seems like a little harsh for sure. I mean, because we also saw after this play, the wide receiver. He kind of threw a fit on the field, and they penalized him for unsportsmanlike conduct, and so the Battlehawks got to attempt the next one on the 2.5, pretty much.
Yep.
Which I think is fine, but that's kind of, I guess, the double standard of when a defense commits a penalty, the offense doesn't automatically convert; they just get a closer try.
Yeah.
So why, when the offense commits a penalty, why wouldn't they just be pushed back farther? And this, they still get a chance, but now it's on the 10-yard or something like that.
Absolutely. Well, hey, let me say hi. Patrick Frostbeard's come in.
Hello.
And feel free, ask us questions too if you want to know anything about football. But hey, thanks for being here and thanks for listening. And we got 8 people watching us right now, Woopah. Hey, awesome, folks. Sit back, everyone. Relax. If you have any comments about football, if there's something we say that's not clear, ask us. We like talking about it and clarifying things and hopefully teach. My goal is to help you like football and enjoy football and help answer your questions to make you not so scared of football and be willing to, watch some, with us, talk about it and even make fun of it sometimes. Because Woopah's watching enough football. There's times where we both have to just make fun of football. It's so bad. Mm-hmm. But this game looked like it was a ugly game. And like you said, it was your third home game. And looking at the stat line, it was 11-8 at the half and no scoring in the third. How was this game to sit through as a fan for a home game?
It was pretty boring.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. Um, I have my season tickets, and the people to the left of me have season tickets, and so I've seen them around a couple games. And at one point in the game, I turned to him and I said, "If I knew the game was going to be like this, I would have drank more before I came here."
But would that have been a good thing?
Maybe not. but it was just. I think a lot of it comes down to. First of all, there were some bad calls. The refs. I just really haven't been happy with a lot of the refs. In the end, I think it I think it balanced out in the sense that in OT, the Battlehawks got some favorable calls go their way that I maybe didn't agree with. I was happy that we got them, but I thought that doesn't seem like a penalty. But in the first half, there were some penalties that kept Vegas's drive alive that I thought were ridiculous, including one where they called illegal hands in the face on us on a play where a Vegas guy tried to decapitate one of our players, like grabbed him by the mask and jumped around him. I'm like, what are you doing? I can tell that you know that's a serious injury risk. But yeah, it's balanced out in the sense that hey, no team really benefited because with the the Vipers benefiting got balanced out by the Battlehawks benefiting. But I think that plays into the enjoyment when you're like, oh, you're looking back at the game and thinking, a little bit of they call it ref ball. People are saying, hey, we didn't pay to come see the refs play.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Refs are meant to be seen, not heard. Yeah.
And there were some calls. I know. I forget.
You and I talked about a couple of them, and even the reviews.
Oh, that was last week. I don't think.
Oh, the week. There was one. I thought it was this week where it looked like, and maybe I got my weeks confused, but it was like one where I told you it looked like the guy got into the end zone, and they said he didn't complete the catch all the way to the ground. That's why I thought it was this week, but it was like
that was in OT. The Vipers they said he didn't pass the plane. I thought it looked like from where I was sitting, it looked like it, and even from the replay once I got home, I'm like, it still looks like he got it. But in the end, it went. They called him down inches short, and that was a big momentum shift for Battlehawks for sure.
Absolutely. Well, that's always a problem when the review can't get it right. That makes it really, really bad. So, yep. But yeah, talk about bad calling. Well, I need to stop 1 second real quick. Let me greet somebody. Pop Culture Mechanic, welcome. Good to see you. First time I've seen you, and over on the Twitch side. Hey, folks. Absolutely. Love to see people on the Twitch side too.
Comrade Mechanic.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, hey, if you're watching on the Twitch side, make sure you give us a follow and on. Hey, so Comrade Pop Culture Mechanic. All right. Well, welcome and glad to have you here. And if you got questions, want to talk football, throw it in there. If there's something we need to explain or clarify, please don't hesitate to ask away, And hey, let's see. Speaking of questions, let's look at the Padawannabe right now. Do they still allow the over the top celebrations in the XFL now? I've never got to go to an XFL game, but I used to go to Surge games in the World League back in the day.
I don't think they do anything like they did in 2001 because that stuff was a little crazy. One thing I've noticed, and I don't mind it, just because I do think a little bit of trash talk is nice, but you see a lot more. When the away team scores, they do a lot of shushing. They like to go to the fan section and start celebrating in front of them. I think that's all good fun. They're not doing anything. We yell at them all game. It's only fair that when they score, they can yell back at us. And they're not doing anything like with the players that I would say is disrespectful. So
Yeah.
As long as they're not being disrespectful, I'm fine with it. Because there was when the Vegas scored a touchdown to make it 17-8, they went behind and let us hear it. And I wasn't on that side, but you could tell they were having fun messing with us. But we got the last laugh, so that's what matters in the end.
There you go. That's what counts, the final score and the way it goes. So, hey, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. I remember when the first year when they did it, they started with ran it the instead of a kickoff, they all ran out the 50-yard line to grab the ball. So that was interesting. And hey, let me say again, thank you for being here, Pop Culture Mechanic, and appreciate you being here. And we have other video content on the Twitch side. We're also on YouTube at Deadman Walking 55. So I hope you enjoyed the football talk tonight. I've done college football in the fall, focusing on the Southeastern Conference. We did some NFL talk through the Super Bowl. And we do Fortnite, another gaming stream. So, hope you stick around and keep checking stuff out. So, hey, and like I said, sit back with us. Let's have some fun. We're talking specifically XFL tonight, but we'll talk general football and other stuff too with the great Woopah Troopah. Hey. So we talked about the controversy with the officiating, and it's, all leagues, I think, are suffering from bad officiating. And like I said, I was frustrated a little bit with their reviewer because you and I talked about that one play, and I'm like, I don't think the reviewer got that one right. But
there's been some rough. I like the review process. Maybe I don't like the person doing it.
Right. It seems like he's inconsistent. It's a good process because they're open. And folks, this is what happens. There's only 4 games, so they run one game at a time. And unlike the NFL or some of the colleges where they have people in the stadiums, or maybe they call back to an office, whatever, they actually have one person doing the review, and you can see them doing it, and they talk it out with the on-field official because they only have one game at a time. But I've noticed some inconsistencies too between it, and you're like, he's explaining it, and you're sitting there like, that's not what I saw. But
yep, no, there's stuff like that. There was the one play last week that thankfully didn't matter, but where he said, well, he did, hit him before, but it wasn't enough of it. It's like, well, that shouldn't matter.
Right. Either hit him or he didn't,
Yeah. So I like the transparency. I like they could call back and, you as a fan can see what's going on, but just a little bit rough. Some of the decision-making, I think we both agree. But
yeah,
this game is very – it was kind of defined by the quarterbacks. And I say that in the Jalen McClendon, the Vipers' offense was really – it was very frustrating. And, hey, I know I'm the guy in the stands calling all this stuff. So what do I know? I couldn't do the job that the defense does. But there were so many times where Vegas seems like, okay, here's their game plan. Run and then throw a screen pass. That's pretty much what they kept doing. And we just kept letting Vegas on a couple drives get down the field. And it's like, what the heck? How he took a few shots at the end of the game, but it's like, wow, why is – surely you guys know what's coming. They've been doing the same thing for the last 2 quarters. And they still seemed surprised when they let a screenplay go for 8 yards. It's like, what are you doing, guys?
Oh, I know. It's crazy. So,
and McClendon, he's hard. He seems to be hard to tackle because he's not particularly fast and he's not particularly evasive, but he broke a good amount of tackles. But in the end, I think we also had our backup quarterback in. A.J. McCarron was out with the arm injury he suffered last week. And we had Nick Tiano, who you could tell he was the backup. And it was kind of interesting. I feel like he's the kind of backup that maybe you'd rather have, but still you can tell in that he was pretty good on his feet. And he had a cannon. I think the biggest thing was some decision-making and some inaccuracies. There were a couple plays where, he just threw, he should have thrown a little deeper and threw maybe more more not on the sideline and then got intercepted, or threw into double coverage when he shouldn't have.
Right.
But he also made, at least one really great play where he threw down the field, to a target. I feel like with the backup quarterback, you don't want like the safe guy, because if you play it safe, you're probably not going to do great. I think you want the guy that you'll just take a gamble on and say, well, he can make some good plays happen, but he can also make some mistakes because hey, at least he can make the big plays happen.
Right.
And he did have that 2-point conversion, the coolest conversion ever. He dove and got helicoptered into the end zone.
I remember that play. That was really, really cool to watch.
That was great,
play.
and that was on our side of the field when it was happening. We're all just sitting there like, "No way! Can't believe he did it." First, we were all freaking out, and then we were like, "Okay, is he getting up?" And yeah, he's getting up. Okay, because at first you're like, "Oh, that looked like it hurt," and we don't want to be on our third string QB, but it was cool and it was great effort there for sure. The one I would point this out just because I think there's the two more things I have on this game. One was the fumble was very interesting. The way that the linebacker Travis Feeney, who's been very good for us, the way he got the fumble was he hit his arm up, the quarterback's arm up, I guess.
Yeah.
So he didn't know, the rules can be weird on, has the quarterback started moving forward with the ball? Is it going to count as an incomplete pass, or is it going to count as a fumble? And they counted a fumble in this case, but just to make sure, he popped basically. Uh-oh. Am I still there?
Yeah, you're here. I can hear you.
I got a sudden update on my computer. But he popped it up, so basically just making it so that, hey, if they rule it a fumble, then it's fine no matter what. But if they rule it a pass, then they can get an interception. And one of our defensive tackle, LaCale London, high pointed the ball and grabbed it and got the fumble recovery. It was very cool to see.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
The last thing was special teams play. So
this
is kind of how, I say we won the game. I think maybe it's karma or so, just because these 2 points would have, in my opinion, been given to Vegas by the refs because they didn't deserve it. But that's just me. Their kicker, they got a new kicker because their previous kicker went 6 for 13 on the year. They finally get this new guy, Sam Sloman, and he misses a 43-yarder. So the Vegas kicker, no matter who it is, not doing great. And then, so they kicked the ball, did a field goal, but St. Louis called a timeout at the right time, thankfully. And they came out of that after the kicker went through the uprights, and they decided, hey, let's go for a fake. And they ran a pretty poorly designed fake.
Wow.
We shut them down and got the ball back without points. It's like, I don't know what you guys were thinking there, but I guess I appreciate them doing that. That's all on them, but it's like, wow.
Hold on, Woopah. I did something. I don't know where that's coming from. There we go. Sorry about that, Woopah. I've been having those technical problems behind the scenes, and I was trying to work on it, and something apparently played that I did not expect playing. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
So, hey, it just boomers around here on its own. So, at least we have good internet tonight. That's a good thing. So,
hey, don't jinx it now.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Pat Wannabe said, I think it's talking about the trash talking. It said the only fans you wouldn't openly taunt would probably be Raiders fans, maybe Philly too.
Oh yeah, Philly will throw stuff at you.
Oh yeah, I know. Where's Courtney when we need her?
Yeah.
The great the Philly fan. Absolutely. So, All right.
But the big play. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. You talked about special teams. We talked about the botched field goal attempt because I actually saw that with the video right here. But yeah, there was also a really big play we can see here with the stat line. Why don't you tell? How did that look? Did you even see that coming?
No, I didn't see that coming. So a lot of people wanted. So this was when the Battlehawks were down 17-8. A lot of people wanted. It was 4th and 2. A lot of people wanted the coach to go for it. I think it was a little risky because we had a decent amount of time left, and we were in our own zone, not like deep in our own zone, but enough that it's like, hey, they get another field goal. We've suddenly we got to score 2 touchdowns instead of just right now. We could get a touchdown and a field goal or a touchdown and a 3-point conversion. Things get a lot harder. So,
yeah.
But
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, so he hiked it, and what just seemed like good. He held it, took one step forward like he was gonna go, and then just pulled back and threw right to one of the wide receiver, right to a wide receiver who I guess was masquerading as a blocker, and he caught it, and there was no one around him. He apparently reached 22 miles per hour on the run, which I think they said was the fastest run yet that they've had in the XFL. And he took off. There was only like 3 people back, and one of the guys was blocked well. One of the guys was just too far away to make a play, and ended up scoring a 64-yard touchdown on a fake. That was excellent.
Absolutely.
The way it was executed was really good. You could tell. I mean, Vegas got totally fooled on that one, and that brought changed it from 17-8 to 17-14, which definitely helped a lot.
Well, hey Woopah, I'm going to try something different and experimenting, which is always dangerous. Let's see what happens with this. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to bring it up. And right here, there we go. Let's see if I can do this right. I'm going to play a few seconds at a time. Hopefully we don't get hit. If I get hit, well, hey, guess what? My first time ever. But we'll just play a few seconds at a time because, like you said, here's a snap. They go there. The play. Then a fake. Like right there. Look at it's like, who's covering the guy? I mean, even I could outrun everybody at that point.
Yeah. No, he was wide open. And at that point, you already got the first down.
And then it was basically only had to outrun the return guy because you only had the one guy deep. And, well, the one guy – see, how about that block from the side, though?
No, I was watching that on the replay. So the way he's running is I'm on the other side, so I couldn't see on the return. It looked like he did a very good job of making sure he hit him on the side or in the front. Made sure he didn't. He made sure not to hit. Not to get the block in the back there.
Well, though, not just the block and back, what has happened in the NFL and I think in college a lot now is they've added this defenseless player stuff where even if you hit them blindside on the side, they start to call personal fouls and stuff like that. That's interesting that I didn't see anything vicious with that. It was a good block to me, but I was just the first thing I could think of is I could see an official calling something on that now. But yeah, he did a good job getting positioned to make that block. And then, wow, not bad. There it is.
Oh yeah, I like that. Here, can you go back just like a second?
Yeah, let's see. A little bit more.
Just one more second.
I go back a little further. There we go.
All right, there you're good. I like this technique. Bam! The helmet throw.
There's your celebrations, Padawannabe. There's your celebrations. So there you go. Well, let me pull that down before I do the next thing. Go ahead.
I like that. I always feel like I always enjoy celebrations. There's points in time where I think maybe goes too far. We talked about that at the last basketball stream, but I always enjoy when you have it's similar to the to the spike, except just with the helmet.
Yep.
Where it's just all the emotions out at once. Bam!
Absolutely.
There we go.
Hey, we got 8 people with us now at 8:45. We're still on the first game. Welcome, everybody. Hey, thank you for hanging with us on a Friday night, talking some football. Put your questions in there. If you got questions about how the XFL does it, please feel free to chat football with us. Make fun of football if you want to. We don't care. We'll have fun with it. We're glad you're here listening to us, having fun with us. And follow us if you're on the Twitch side, and hit that like button and subscribe on this Twitter side. YouTube side. Jeez. And he said, it's like 22. That's pretty fast. Usain Bolt goes 27-ish. So, but guess what, Woopah? I'm going to try something else. Oh. And to the Padawanabe's about practicing fake plays. Well, we saw one that went good. I am going to do something else. Ta-da! This one deserved to be shown. Anyway, Woopah, you were nice in how you described this. Okay, we know the kicking is bad in this league anyway, but it's bad. See right there, you can see it. Look on the left side. Look how St. Louis is already busted into the backfield on the line, and then see like this guy on the end. Watch him on this play, and look right there. They're already like 20 yards back downfield. When you see him, let's go back a little bit. Let me go back like right here. He's already like another 10 or 15 yards back upfield, and you know at that point it ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, no, this was the thing. We really didn't expect this because this was after we iced the kicker,
right?
Which he made that one. So we figured they're lining up again. Hopefully, the nerves will get to him.
At the end of the first half, you kick the field goal. Go, they would have been up 6. They'd have been up 6. You take the 3.
Yeah, it would have changed a lot in the game for them for sure.
Yeah,
and I think the biggest thing, like what I remember here specifically, was
just a weak pass. Yep.
It was a bad pass because that guy's not a quarterback. He's under a lot of pressure. He's
got a wide receiver number on it, so hey.
Yeah, and you saw. I mean, maybe not the best angle, but you could tell there, and you could tell for sure in the stadium that one guy in the front was totally covered, and the one guy in the back was. They had a safety monitoring him. If you would have got a pass up, the safety would have been on him by then. So it's like there were just no options, which great to see on our side. We're like, first of all, they're not getting points, and you can tell in that play, hey, our guys figured it out. But it was just at the end of the half, we're like, well, I don't know why that happened. But very interesting for sure.
Well, that was an exciting first game of the weekend, and like you said, it's the first overtime matchup of the season with the new rules. So it's awesome. And let me say hello to your old toys. Welcome. Good to see you tonight, your old toys. Oh, all right. One down. The Battlehawks moved to 6-2. The Vipers fall to 2-6. And not bad for St. Louis surviving with a backup quarterback. 10 yards of completion, but he did have 2 picks. This is the type of game where you just survive, get that win and move on, because we can see, like we were talking about, them and Seattle, neck and neck. So we'll see more about that game in a minute. But let's go on to a game that you and I had hopes for. I had actually hopes for this underdog team in this one, but you can go ahead and preview this one, Woopah.
Yeah, so this was a very, despite being 18-16, there was a decent amount of offense, at least on the Guardians side. There was just a lot of issues. So you can see here, Quinn and Dormady, 28 for 43, passes 300 passing yards. He gets the 2 touchdowns for the team. But the biggest thing was 2 interceptions and 3 fumbles.
Wow. Yeah.
Rough day turnover-wise for him. So he made it. He got it done sometimes, but made a lot of costly errors. And another issue, too, for this offense was that 5 carries for 17 yards, that led the team in rushing. So it wasn't great on the ground for them.
They had 16 carries for 25 yards total as a team.
Oof, that's not good.
Yeah.
But you can see, I mean, look at the wide receivers that they had here. Eli Rogers hadn't done much. He's an old Steeler, I believe. 10 catches for 135 yards. Cody Latimer's been a big deal. I think he leads the league in receiving yards now. He's gone on fire lately, 7 catches for 70 yards. Mm-hmm. So their air attack is good. Rushing attack, maybe not so much. And obviously, anytime you have 5 turnovers, it's going to be hard to win.
That's what I was going to say. The air attack is fine when your quarterback holds the football and is not either throwing picks or fumbles. I watched most of the first half of this game, and and it ended up 18-16. The Renegades should have had a lot more points. They were driving the ball with Luis Perez as a quarterback coming in, but they kept having to settle for field goals after the first. It just was like they had the advantage. They were moving the ball effectively, but they couldn't get in the end zone. And then the Guardians just kept turning the ball over. Dormady run and then just dropped the ball going down before he got tackled, which gave the Renegades 6 of their points was a fumble recovery, scoop, and score. So, you had 6 points for the defense right there that were just given. There was another that Dormady got sacked, did not put the ball down when he was getting pressured, and left it exposed and lost it in the pile. And then on top of that, the 2 picks. So it was a very painful game to watch. It was 12-6 at halftime, or 12-9 at halftime. And it just was not, this is one of those games that illustrates that statistics can be misleading. Because you think a team throws for 300 yards, it's going to be wide open, exciting, and it wasn't. It really wasn't, and it was because of the turnovers.
Yeah, it wasn't the best. And you look at now, Arlington defense is very good, and I highlighted 2 players here. Defensive end had 3 tackles, all of them for a loss, 2 of them sacks, and got the fumble and the recovery. And Willie Taylor, 3 tackles, 1 sack, got an interception and a forced fumble. But the biggest thing, another reason why it wasn't great is there just wasn't a ton of offense for the Renegades, which has been a story this whole year. I remember I was looking through a bunch of players, and there's no one really, there's no one really here to put as a third key player. There's a bunch of people who are kind of the same level, but none of them are really big. And I figured at that point, if you're debating a bunch of, about a bunch of people to put, might as well put the quarterback. He's the most important. Luis Perez, 16-25 for 190 yards. Nothing really impressive, but hey, no turnovers. This was his first week as a Renegade, so I guess maybe getting his feet wet, but not the best performance, but he didn't cost the team at the very least. So I guess that was enough to win it in this game.
Yeah, it was very pedestrian. I mean, I was impressed the way he started. I thought they were going to get touchdowns on the first 2 drives, and they all just grinded to a halt at about the 10 to 20 yard line. Yeah. So it's, it was, I was disappointed with that Arlington did not put more points on early because they were moving the ball very effectively. It was a mix of run and pass, and they kept Orlando off balance, but, just not enough, not enough to win. Like I said, in the first quarter, they scored 9, but 6 points was the defense helped them out on it. And then you had on 2 other field goals. So it just, I still think Arlington's going to be probably a default in the South, but hey.
It's looking increasingly like that.
What's that again?
It's looking increasingly like that'll happen.
Yeah. And we'll take a look at the overall standings in a few minutes when we're through these games. But, yeah, there's not – like I said, I watched a lot of this game. It was very – there was nothing really astounding, like Arlington's defense with the scoop and score. And Perez looked good, but it was like, championship quarterbacks need to do a little bit more than just be a game manager like this. And that truly was what I saw, was just a game manager, not to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And hello to Balzette. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Good to see you tonight. So, hey, welcome back. All right. So, any other thoughts about this game? Or we move
Nope.
on? All right.
Let's move on to this. We haven't had an OT game, so how about 2 in 1 week here?
All right. There you go. That's a spirit. Oh, my gosh. These scores, listen, we'll be open and honest with y'all with what we think. These scores, and I think I've said this before. It's really, to me, for the future of this league, they don't need this type. They need exciting, fresh, exciting football. But when you get 17, 15 games, and sometimes the way they end up, it's not. It doesn't help you, Because I go back to the first game about the St. Louis game. You guys were rocking that stadium. That was loud. It was like a good college game, a good NFL game. That stadium was so loud in overtime. It's what football should be. But the Orlando game, I would maybe one day I'll get off my butt, go down there. If I didn't have to fight Orlando traffic, maybe one day I'd go down there and watch a game on a Saturday, and just or pay 40. Whether the ridiculous parking fees are. Because it was like there was nobody there.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of games I like to go because then you got plenty of room and stuff like that. But all right, so now we're with Houston and San Antonio. So how did this game go, Woopah?
Well, it really was just kind of rough overall. San Antonio does have a pretty good defense. But overall, so Brandon Silvers is coming back from an injury, taken back over for Cole McDonald, who played last week and didn't do great. He didn't throw for a ton of yards, didn't have a great completion percentage, and had 2 interceptions, but he did have 2 touchdowns, which ended up being the big difference maker here. But Houston just doesn't have a run game. It's a big problem. 7 carries for 10 yards for Max Borghi. He did do pretty well in the air with his 3 catches for 49 yards, but there's nothing they can get going. Brahmas, so they went back to QB Jack Cohn, who started the first 5 games for them, I believe. He just has not been good. 190 passing yards on 41 attempts. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So the biggest thing is Jacques Patrick. I don't know if it's Jacques or Jacques. Sometimes, I know what it is. Would be in French, but he's not
go
French.
Jacques. I would go. It could be Jacques. Yeah, like you said, I used to Jacques Green from the Florida Gators many years ago, but it had a C in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm usually like. I forget there was some guy like that.
Look at the running stats in this game. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, he did very good on the ground. 96 yards on 16 carries, got a touchdown, and got the only touchdown for the Browns for the game, and also 4 catches for 38 yards in the air. Patrick was almost the entire offense for this team.
96 of the 128 yards team rushing. They had about 280 yards overall net offense. So
yeah.
Good production, about a third of the offense. And like you said, the only touchdown there.
Yeah, and another big thing, a guy who I do think, I'm sure we'll probably end up talking about this maybe in the playoffs, maybe. Probably Brahmas won't be there, but they are still in the hunt. But John Parker Romo, he missed 1 field goal in week 1, and he hasn't missed since. Going 3 for 3, hit 2 that were greater than 40 yards, including the 49-yarder pretty much at the end of the game to send it to overtime. So
wow. Yeah,
he's been very good for in a league where kicking has been kind of tough. He's been near automatic.
He's bright spot he's bright spot in the league and for a team that's been kind of weak. He's basically San Antonio's offense these days. in terms of scoring. So, and you know what? Maybe he might get a chance to get a shot in the NFL because of, I mean, when you can kick that accurately in any league, especially when you get beyond 40 to 50 yards, it's, there's a chance, somebody might give you a chance to come into camp, and that's all you can ask, and be in the right place at the right time. So,
yep.
Absolutely. Hey, one other thing before I forget, back to the first game too, was the way that Vegas ran for over 200 yards against St. Louis, and just noted because the rushing yards in this league have not been high in this, except for DC. But this is two games where one team's run over 100 yards, and I think that's kind of interesting to note. That some of the running games seem to are starting to take hold and develop.
A little bit. Some of that comes down to St. Louis's rushing defense has not been great of late, or pretty much all year almost. So it's a little bit of a problem. Hopefully we'll figure it out. But yeah, they had I think they had 3 separate running backs they used, plus the quarterback, who was pretty good at it. Oh. Yeah, so we got into OT with this game, and this actually went all 3 rounds. It was kind of a bunch of bad plays on overtime.
Yes,
I believe one of them got called back. It
was like the penalty kick shootout where everybody kept kicking wide or high. It was like I think Houston finally won by default. I don't think San Antonio made a single conversion, did they?
Nope, they didn't make a single one. Houston converted their final one.
Wow.
And so they converted their third one, and then San Antonio went and missed theirs. So it was rough. I think one of them got canceled because of a penalty as well, too. So
yeah. Wow. That's a weird rule, though. But
yeah, not a fan. But
hey.
By the way, I think it got called on San Antonio. By the way everything went, I don't think they were scoring anyway.
Nope. 15 points, 9 of your 15 from the kicker. Yeah. So
he's your most valuable player.
Exactly. So, all right. Anything else about that game?
No, the less said, the better, I say.
No, there you go. Yeah, that was painful. I mean, but look, Houston's still leading the South at 5-3. Renegades 4-4. So, it doesn't matter. It's as long as you win it in advance, All right.
Yep. And this was probably, no offense, last week was very good with a ton of great results. This week was
kind of bad.
Probably all bad, except for this game. This game was very good. High scoring, very close, 34-33.
Wow.
We almost had a chance for a third overtime game here. So let's go to the things that stand out. Jordan Ta'amu has just absolutely transformed himself. He did have a fumble, but 17 for 26, 247 yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Just to keep in mind, he had 6 passing touchdowns the entire season going into this game. So he got 4 in one game. This is just something you haven't seen at all, really. And then, Ben DiNucci, on the other hand, had another 300-yard passing game. Pretty big deal. He reached 2,000 passing yards by week 8. He's the league leader. 3 touchdowns, did throw an interception, but for Ben DiNucci, only 1 turnover is pretty good for him.
Yeah, it is.
But the two big wide receivers too, Chris Blair has kind of taken over as the number 1 in DC. 5 catches for 148 yards and a touchdown.
Well, now that they're finally throwing the football, though.
Oh yeah.
The first few weeks it was like all running all the time, but now that they're throwing the ball, yeah, 148. He had all but 99 of their passing yards.
Yeah. Oh, he got a lot of big plays. And another big thing too is Seattle kind of has the deepest wide receiver core. They got Josh Gordon. They've got Ja'Cour Pearson, who up until this week was leading the league in receiving yards, and they've had Blake Jackson, who's led in some games for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But a totally different guy, Juwan Green, 7 catches for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kind of came out of almost nowhere. It's just how deep their passing game is. Really, Seattle has needed a little bit more from their passing game since their running game. They did sign what's his name, Philip Lindsay, but he didn't do too much this game.
Under 3 yards a carry, 8 carries for 23 yards. Yeah. And I was noticing the Seattle receivers. Seattle had four players with at least 4 catches. So
they've got a lot of dangerous weapons. And the thing is, if you were going into this game, you wouldn't have counted Juwan Green as one of them. And now you're going to have to give him his due. And I think it's going to be something that everyone's going to have to focus on playing the Dragons for these next 2 games. Their wide receivers are just crazy good.
Absolutely. Well, hey, what an interesting game. It's good to see some with some points. The other 3 were all pretty well low score fests, but this one, you got to at least have one game of the week, and at least this one's a good one. But this one has significant ramifications, and we'll look at that in just a second when we get to the standings. Was there anything else on this game that you had to note?
Yeah, so there's an interesting thing, and I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm.
So the Sea Dragons scored very late in the game. Now, not much time left in the 4th. I think like a minute maybe.
Okay.
And that brought it to 34 to 33. Seattle decided to go for 2.
Which would be the 5-yard line, right?
Yeah. So they said they don't want to go for the 1 and get the tie. They want to end it here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that kind of decision? I know.
Okay, so the 1 point would have been from the 2-yard line, correct?
Yep.
Let me see one thing real quick because I'm trying to multitask here. So, let's see. Just trying to get some, because actually I see the attempt here on the screen, but it's not going to go back to that. Oh well. And as a rule of thumb, in a professional game, I do not like it. To me, you take the 1 point and you try to get to the tie, especially when you're going from the 2-yard line. You can run or pass. There are options to do things. So that's kind of the way I view that. There are times when I would say you could do that. One of those times that happened was obviously this year in the college game when LSU and Alabama. Normally I'd say if you're on the road, you do it, but LSU did it at home, being down only 1. Yeah, because I'm looking at the 2-point conversion. It was, especially the way they tried to roll it. Yeah, that was a bad play call too with that whole thing. If you're going to sit there and go for 2, don't try to be too much faking motion. You need to try to get it. A lot of it comes down to your play call, but the LSU game against Alabama was a situation where you're at home, you got the crowd on your side, you're running at a 2-point conversion from the 2-yard line, the 3-yard line, and you know what? You're at home, you've got a lot on the line, and throw caution to win. You're a team that was not expected to even be challenging Alabama. I could see it in that case like that, but you had not so much to lose. Even if they had gone wrong, it could have gone against them. But at that point, the West was up in the air. This is a case, though. This game had a significant meaning for Seattle. You played to extend the game when you're at home. You played to extend it and go for overtime. You just don't want to lose in regulation. You're not the road team. You're not trying to struggle. Or you're not like 2 games behind trying to get a win to make up ground in the playoffs. This game had a significant effect because they missed it. Now, granted, they could have gone for 1 and missed it and still would have made a difference, but that too, from a couple yards back, can make a difference. And as a rule of thumb, it's very selective. If is what it says. If you're a road team with nothing to lose, like an underdog playing a Texas A&M or an Alabama on the road, and you're 1 point down and a chance to win it with a few seconds left, yeah, you do it. Because you know what? There's no guarantee with overtime, and you shouldn't have been there anyway. But if you got stuff riding on the line, you play it conservatively and try to play for the other day and try to wait for the other guy to make a mistake. So hope that answered your question.
Yeah. I was wondering if you'd say that. I like the decision just because if it was the NFL or college, I think I would say no.
Mm-hmm.
But just because in those leagues, the difference between a 1-pointer and a 2-pointer is very significant.
Mm-hmm.
You kick an extra point, that's good about 90% of the time, maybe even higher.
Right.
2-point conversions,
unless you're the Dallas Cowboys kicker.
Yeah.
God, that's painful watching that game.
But yeah, going for the extra point is pretty automatic. Going for a 2-pointer is very risky. You're looking at 40 to 50% risk by going for it.
Mm-hmm.
In the XFL, an extra point from the 2-yard line and an extra point from the 5-yard line, you're looking at only about 10 to 15% lower conversion rate.
Yep.
So it's not quite the 1-point play is not quite as automatic as like an extra point would be. Right. So going for 2, I think then that way you're saying, hey, look, in overtime we're on even even footing. Everything can go wrong.
Right.
Where everything can go right too. But how about we take luck out of it and we can just score here, and they don't get a chance.
Well, when we get to the standings, I think I'll show the standings will illustrate why I take that opinion in this case with what they did, because but we'll see. We'll look at the standings there, and I'll talk about it a little bit further. So, all right. Anything else with this game before we move on to the standings?
Nope, that's all.
All right. Well, I want to just say here that this Snortopoopas is here monitoring the stream for seals and walruses. Don't know nothing about sports ball. Hey, you're out there on Twitter too with those walruses, aren't you, Snortopoopas? Hey, but thanks for being here with us, buddy. We appreciate it. Yeah, you can have all the seals and walruses that show up, and you can have a dolphin if you want. So I don't think we have any dolphins in this league, and if you can handle a sea dragon, you're welcome to them. All right, Woopah, let us move forth and conquer.
We've got the standings right here, then.
Yay! Oh, and we see X's and E's now. Oh,
yep.
That was delicious. I bet it was. We got X's and E's this week, week 8, after week 8 now.
Yep.
And the X's are the teams that have completed, clinched a playoff game, and the E's are those teams that have been eliminated. Like Woopah was saying earlier, last week we did not have that, and this week we have one of each. And Snortopoopas has a treaty with the Dolphins and Penguins. Okay, I got fair enough. That works. So and like I was saying here, Woopah, we see in the North now with Seattle losing, they've fallen a game behind St. Louis, and that's why I tend to think in that case they should have gone for the 1 point. Consider maybe even running the football, or have Danuzzi rolling it. I mean, an option run, not a rollout. Like their play was a fake and a bootleg that was just sniffed out and eaten alive. But something hard, at least at two-yard line, you can actually go straight, go forward without necessarily all the fake and the bootlegging and all. And that's the main reason why I would question that call. And I would have questioned it even if they had made the conversion and won. But that's just, the way I view football. I mean, of course, if you do it and it works, then you always look good. So, yeah. But we're here. We've seen some movement this week in the standings. The North now, DC still on top. Chased closely by the Battlehawks, and now the Sea Dragons with that loss at home have now fallen behind the Battlehawks, who aren't your last two games on at home, or is
Yep.
split both
Sorry.
at home. Yeah, both at home. So that's going to be an advantage to the Battlehawks if they can get McCarron back. Um,
Yeah.
and then so that's where the situation is in the North. What is your thoughts on the North for now?
I think it's going to be tough, and I think most likely, uh, we'll get to that soon. But I think it's going to be decided this week in the next couple days. Uh, there's a lot riding on this week 9 matchup that we'll get into soon. So that could be it, or it could set up a dramatic conclusion.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
but then in the South, things look a little bit more safe with the Brahmas losing and the Renegades winning. Brahmas still do have a chance, but it's looking like not a very good chance right now for the Renegades. If they win one more, even if they don't win one more, they can get in on a tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Brahmas have to win out and have to have the Renegades lose out. So we'll see how that goes.
So basically, what we have is a situation where this week could clinch everything. There.
This week could clinch everything. Everything could be solved this week, and we could have a week 10 where everyone's just playing for rest.
Yeah.
See.
Well, even in the North, though, I mean, if Seattle drops the matchup this week and St. Louis wins, St. Louis gets at least clinches a playoff spot. So it's a big week still for 4 of these teams now.
And you're looking at also DC and Houston. If they win, they have the division tiebreakers. So that would be an automatic clinch for them.
Yep. As you can see by the records there, they're undefeated in their divisions.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, the standings have changed. A lot has changed this week. So it's another big week of football. So let's hope the quality of play steps up to the drama that's evident in the standings. So with that, what about our matchups for this week?
All right, let's get into week 9 here. We've got on Saturday, Vegas traveling to Houston for another matchup. Guys, I've got to look out. Rod Smith for Vegas. Now, Vegas has a lot of running backs. They definitely have a committee, but Rod Smith has the most yards out of all of them, 271 rushing yards, 116 receiving yards. No fumbles as well. And Pita Tomopenu, I think how you say, he's got second in the league with 7.5 sacks. He's been a force to be reckoned with for sure. 4 forced fumbles as well. And Deontay Anderson, a strong safety, has been pretty good as well. Getting forced fumble, interception, and 3 tackles for a loss, all with 40 total tackles.
Mm-hmm.
The Roughnecks, they led with a lot of defense. Their linebacker, Corey, you have Tavante Beckett, 28 solo tackles and 23 assisted tackles. And also Trent Harris leads the league, 8.5 sacks, 11 tackles for a loss. So he terrorizes on the edge rush for sure. And quarterback rise, you're looking at Brandon Silvers, 7 games played, but 1,446 yards. He has had his completion percentage dip a lot, now under 60%. He does have 13 touchdowns to 7 interceptions.
About 2-1 at least, yeah.
Yeah. The questions here, Vegas. The assumption is that Jalen McClendon's going to be back. He had an amazing game week 7, but looked pretty limited. The offense overall looked very limited with McClendon in week 8. I know they had us down to the wire, but it was just very close.
Well, let me ask you, since you watched the game in person, what do you think that some of that was their play calling? I mean, did they because sometimes you can tell if the coordinators or coaches are hampering the offense or a particular quarterback by the way they call plays, because his first start was big numbers passing and all, and he looked great. But, I mean, did they give him a chance with their play calling to even try to have a good week?
It didn't look like it, and I guess that's where you go into. I guess I don't know. Say which came first, but did they not? Did the coordinator mess up and didn't play call for him, or does the coordinator and the coaches not trust him, and that's why they're play calling because they feel like, well, if we call this play, there's no shot in that happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does get another shot, but I'm wondering how effective he will be. But the big thing for the Roughnecks is they don't have much of a run game at all. The last time they had even a 50-yard rusher was week 3. So it's been a while. Last week, when going over there, starting running back had 10 carries on 7 rushes. And even I think their first loss against Seattle, their running back had a good game, but you wouldn't be able to tell on the stat sheet because he was getting hit in the backfield every time. To you look like, oh, he had 2 yards per carry, but if you watch the game, you're like, it's a miracle he had that.
Dang, that's a credit to him being able to if you get hit that early and still get that much yardage. So, yeah.
He had probably the toughest looking 1-yard run I've ever seen. He had to break like 5 tackles almost. But, their run game just has not had, gotten it together. And, Brandon Silver should be penciled in as the starter, and he's got to get it done because there's not much of a run game behind him, really.
No.
So.
And hi to Lisa. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey,
Good
Lisa.
to see you. And we got 9 people with us. Hey.
Nice.
All right. We're previewing the upcoming week's action in the XFL. Starting off with a game that's it does have playoff implications. Houston needs to win. Yeah, Houston needs to win for to stay ahead of Arlington and clinch actually with this win could clinch their division and the top seed in the South Division. So hey, there's a lot to be playing for here, even though Vegas may not. But it'll be interesting to see. And like I said, if it looked like to you that McClendon, the offensive play calling really hampered him, then maybe this week they'll turn him loose like they did the first week, and he'll have a different week, more production. So
yeah.
And by the way, folks, one thing I want to say is, Woopah and I, we've talked about it earlier. One of the problems with the league has been that a lot of the early broadcasts were hidden on the FX networks and stuff, which a lot of people don't have. But these games in the last few weeks, and I think going forward, are on the ESPN ABC channels. Vegas Houston will be at 12:30 on ABC, actually, on regular TV, and the other games will be on ESPN2 or ESPN. Not if you have cable or streaming, then you might be able to get to them. But I mean, that's the thing is, it's interesting how these broadcasts have been put onto better networks or that have more exposure than they did early in the season.
Yeah, I guess just because it's heating up and playoffs are getting there, they're looking to more get that ABC and ESPN main channel billing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but you know what I also see from this, using the ESPN website, that the matchup for Vegas at Houston, the tickets as low as $14.
Ooh, $14. That's pretty
cheap. Orlando at San Antonio, $15. Now Seattle at St. Louis, is $40, and then there's another game that's $52. Sorry. Okay. All right. So we got it's interesting when I sit there and look at ticket prices. I'm like, dang, would I like to go to that game? Yeah, usually. I didn't even pay $40 for a game, I think.
So, yeah, no, it's good prices overall. Mm-hmm. You get for most of these games, you're getting good seats because there's not a ton of people there.
Yeah, I go to Orlando. Okay, sorry for that little sidetrack there, Woopah.
No problem. Hey. That's pretty much all I have for this game. Do you have any predictions on who you think's going to win?
Houston. I mean, it's just not that they're unless they have a complete meltdown on defense and Vegas is able to run on them like they did against St. Louis, Houston should handle this one pretty easy. Even if they don't blow them out point wise, I don't think Vegas will score enough on them to challenge Houston.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd probably agree with you. I would take Houston here.
Bye, Mrs. Hey, thanks for being here.
I guess the interesting storyline here would be that Houston, despite being, they're undefeated in their division, but they've lost all 3 of their games so far to the North teams. So if they lose to Vegas, you could in theory make the argument that the 4 best teams are in the league are in the North.
That's true. That is true. Makes it bad. Kind of like the NFC jokes, how there's usually one division. This year it was the AFC South in the NFL, or the NFC South. Either one are just horrible teams in it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that's all I have with that game too, Woopah. So.
All right.
Well,
let's get to this. Another interesting one. Guardians traveling to San Antonio.
San Antonio scored 30 points the last time? You mean they scored 30? Wow.
Yep, that was their best game by far. But we've got Quinn Dormady coming back for the Guardians. In 5 games has 1,272 passing yards, has a pretty good completion percentage, 7 passing touchdowns and 4 rushing touchdowns, but he does have 4 interceptions and 5 fumbles. Cody Latimer leading the league in receiving yards now with 558. And you also have, on the San Antonio side, the biggest things you're looking at are Jacques Patrick, 322 rushing yards on 79 carries, and also 151 receiving yards on 19 catches. Another interesting thing is Landon Akers. He missed a lot of time. He was big in the first game, but then got hurt and kind of sat out for a while. But he's back. I think he's led the league and led the team in receiving yards the last 2 weeks. So 20 catches for 196 yards, but that's in 4 games. So, on the defensive side, Jordan Williams leading the league with 71 tackles and also has the 11 tackles for a loss. So he's been doing pretty good for himself. I guess the questions are going to be at QB here. Like I wrote and like we already talked about, Dormady had a 5 turnover game, playoff on the line last week. Hopefully that won't happen again, but we know it's a possibility. And then I'm not really sure who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Brahmas. It seems like they said it was going to be Jack Cohn again. But he just regained the starting role and instantly threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns.
Listen. I just put the name together. He did play at Wisconsin before he transferred to Notre Dame. You never trust a friggin' Wisconsin quarterback. Never. in any pro sport. Never. And you know what makes me even madder about that? And I'll say pissed off. So I'll use some spicy language for the ladies out there. Balzette, that's for you and Lisa. It pisses me off the Gators got to transfer from friggin' Wisconsin again. It's like, how are you going to throw the damn football when they come? Not a slight against the state of Wisconsin, by the way. It's just University of Wisconsin quarterbacks aren't known for throwing the football, either in terms of accuracy, downfield, or production. Wisconsin, the Badgers are more the running dominated school, that type of stuff. And that's why I have this thing against Wisconsin quarterbacks. So, but yeah, I agree. And the thing is, I Cohn may be in a possession or two because why would you bring Paxton? Why would you sign Paxton Lynch if you don't have plans to play him? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And Cohn has had a lot of chances and hasn't cashed in on them. No. Paxton Lynch, he didn't have the best year. And then look at what Dormady's done because he was an old Guardians quarterback, and Dormady has done a lot better in his stead. But still, Paxton Lynch didn't do bad. Like he
Yeah.
had, I think, one bad game, but mostly was playing acceptable. Which that's a lot better than you can say for Cone for most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, like you said, they claimed him off waivers. Why would you do that if you just want to sit him the whole time, especially with the playoffs on the line?
Exactly. I mean, you got no. The other key is the playoffs are on the line. Why are you going to sit with somebody that has had chances that has not stepped up? And you know, your season's on the line here. There's no tomorrow. You have to win now. And in San Antonio's case, they have to have help. You know, they have to have Arlington lose ahead of them. You know, to have a chance, and they've got to have Arlington lose 2 in a row. I mean, this week we'll see the matchup in a moment, and that'll be a very good chance that they could have some help. But don't make Arlington's job easier by not winning. And let's say hello to Jake D.
Hey, Jake D.
The leader, comrade leader Woopah Troopah, comrade Dadman Walking 55, comrade Mrs. Dadman Walking 55, comrade Balzette, comrade Lisa, comrade Snortapoopas Cuber. Welcome, Jake D. Welcome in. And we've got 10 people watching with us right now. Thank you, everybody. Right. And we're previewing this week's action. We got 2 games down. And, I mean, it's really interesting. This game it'd be funny, like you said, if it came down to a field goal battle. Definitely San Antonio has the advantage from what we've seen with the 3-name kicker. I'll call him the 3-name kicker. No, I think I moved something around here which caused a strange noise.
It could be my chair. My chair is there. I'll let them be. So.
Oh, well, hey. But noises creep up all the time. Oh, man. So great analysis on that. Any other thoughts that you got with this game coming in?
Nope, not anything really right now.
Oh, my goodness. Hey. Yeah, we use comrade as a term of endearment, so we all love each other. So, and Balzette says hi to Jake. Yep. All right. So, all right. Where do we go now, Woopah?
So we go here, Arlington going to DC. So big game for them. The battle of 2 quarterbacks, Luis Perez and Jordan Teamu. Obviously, Teamu on fire here with his I think he's had 9 touchdowns in the last 4 games. Most of his touchdowns have come recently.
And only 1 interception, 10 to 1
only
ratio.
1 interceptions.
Yeah.
His 61% completion percentage doesn't look great, but considering I think for the first 4 weeks he was barely above 50. He's been doing a lot better lately. Mm-hmm. Hasn't been rushing too much lately, but we know he has the ability. Luis Perez has been okay, kind of middling overall. Made some bad plays, but made some good plays as well. Running back wise, Abram Smith, number 1 running back in the league, 720 rushing yards on 138 carries, 7 touchdowns, but 3 fumbles. On the other side, Devion Smith has been kind of a big part of the Renegades offense. 322 rushing yards on 103 carries is not the best, but he does have 5 rushing touchdowns and adding a good amount of ground in the air. Let's see, other than that, you've got Chris Blair, like we said, he's coming into his own, 492 yards on 23 catches, which is pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's over 20 yards a catch. But, yeah, the biggest things I think you're going to look out for is, Perez gets his second game as the quarterback of the Renegades being traded from the Vipers. He got a win in his first game, but didn't do too much. And I guess you're looking to see, can he build that chemistry? And if he starts clicking, can this Renegades offense finally show some life? And on the other hand, you have DC. They came into this pretty good defense overall. They were living up to their name. But the last 2 weeks, they've allowed 30-plus points. Last week was to Seattle, which is a pretty good team, but the week before that was to the Guardians. Yeah. So it's not just that they're facing tough competition. That defense has legitimately struggled. So interesting to see how this will go.
Well, and I tell you, from what I saw of Perez last week, he looked effective. Like I said earlier, he was effective. They moved the ball early, but they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. So that'll be the question: can they move the ball? They might be able to take advantage of those defensive woes. It's either one of two things: either they're going to pick apart the DC defense. The question would be, can they get touchdowns instead of just field goals, or is this the game that Washington's defense gets healthy? And returns to some domination where they dominate their opponent and hold them down. So it can go either way. Remains to be seen. So I Perez has been very average pedestrian, looked effective, but we've seen big play ability out of DC, especially last week. It's like that's something that Arlington does not have. So
nope.
Yep. So who do you think is going to win this one?
I think it's going to be DC. Just their offense has looked very good, and I don't think Luis Perez is. I think he's better than what they've had, but I don't think he's a good enough quarterback to truly get this offense up and running.
Eight touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Yeah, they're just very mediocre. I mean, you need somebody with a little more spark to carry a team that's really one of the more anemic offenses in the league. Yeah, by all standings. Because when you look at Arlington's only scored 111 points in 8 games. They are the lowest scoring offensive team. The only other team that scored more offensively, well, including defensive scores, would be San Antonio at 116. Even Orlando scored 153 points, who's the next lowest point offensive generated team. So, and also Arlington's been outscored by 30 points a game, while DC is outscoring their opponents by 50.5 points. So everything here statistically tells me shout to DC all the way with this one. So, and I agree with you. I'll take DC at this game. And also, hey, did we pick a winner in the previous game, the Orlando San Antonio game?
Oh, I guess we didn't.
I think I'm going to take Orlando on the road.
I was going to take Orlando as well, just because the Brahmas, they did get their win against Orlando, but they just haven't looked good since. And even when they beat the Renegades, they didn't look like they did a very good job.
No.
Orlando, I feel like they have at least something. Even if Dormady had 5 turnovers in the game, he at least could throw a lot and get a lot of completions. I don't know if that's something that the Brahmas can really do.
All righty. Well, we got that's a fun game to pick, but okay. So we've got 3 games down, which leads us to your favorite game of the week. I know.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Probably the biggest game of the week for sure. Seattle Sea Dragons going on the road to St. Louis, and last time they met, St. Louis won by a game-winning field goal, 20-18.
I remember seeing that game.
Oh yeah, it was a very good game, very fun.
Oh, that's the first time that was week. Was that week 2?
Yep.
Because I remember we were talking about the game. I turned my head. I looked back. It's like, how the hell did St. Louis get the ball again? And that's where I learned that XFL, instead of doing an onside kick in the 4th quarter, they can do a 4th and 15 from their own 20, I think. Or is it
25, I think.
Okay. But basically, you can play 4th and 15. If you convert it to first down, you keep the ball. Otherwise, it's like, the other team, which I think is a neat substitute for the onside kick, and gives a team actually a realistic chance of actually getting the ball and keeping the possession, and then they moved down and won the game. I thought that was neat. So, but we talk about new things. Last week we had 2 overtime games for the first time all year with overtime, and then that's the first time I saw the 4th and 15 onside kick option. So, but yeah. Sorry for
Yeah.
that. It just jumped into my mind when I saw that score, and I remembered this game early this season. So
No, and I think this is going to be probably what it comes down to. It could be a quarterback duel. You could make an argument for DiNucci and McCarron, the two best quarterbacks in the league. I guess DiNucci maybe not necessarily because he has so many turnovers, but
15
leading.
passing touchdowns to 10 interceptions. That
Yeah.
10 interceptions is huge.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. It leads the league, but what else leads the league is the 2,071 passing yards by a pretty good margin, and 226 rushing yards, pretty good on the ground as well.
And he's completing 65% of his passes, which is very good for a quarterback on any level.
Yep. Then you've got McCarron, a little less passing yards and definitely not as explosive as a running QB, but only 4 interceptions to a league-leading 17 passing touchdowns and a league-leading 68.9% completion percentage. He's played very well. All the reports I've read seem to be signaling that AJ McCarron will be healthy enough to play. My guess is that last week was, I don't want to say somewhat a precaution, but just, you don't want to risk your star QB in a game that you think you should win, when playing him in that game could result in him being out for the season, and then you're really up shit's creek without a paddle.
Yep, absolutely.
But
yep.
I think an interesting thing is going to be running backs and wide receivers here. Running backs wise, I put a note here. Brian Hill's had a really solid season, but he has 3 fumbles in the last 2 games. It's been rough, and hopefully that doesn't continue.
Yeah.
They're going to need more solid from him. And Seattle, we talked about, they don't really have much of a running game. They do have Phillip Lindsay, but he didn't have much of a good game that week. Right. So can he have a better game? We'll have to see. I hope not, but it'll be something interesting to watch.
I don't think you're going to have to worry about drinking too much before the game to like you thought about last week. So this should have some more points. Yeah, it should have some more points in it. It should be a little more entertaining. But it comes down to not committing those penalties and not turning the ball over, and ball protection, and was McCarron healthy enough to play? I mean, is what because DiNucci turns the ball over, but if Hill's on a run of fumbling like crazy, that's not what you want out of your running back. And they need a solid running back because McCarron is not a running quarterback. I mean, he can move a little bit, but only running for 90 yards on the season. You don't, you want to have something to balance out your attack with some threat on the ground, and you got to have, but you can't have a running back that's fumbling all the time.
Yeah. So. And running was how McCarron got hurt, so he might, avoid it.
Yep. All right.
Which I guess I can understand. Sometimes you think, well, hey, don't play scared. On the other hand, I can understand him thinking, hey, look, I can do a lot more damage in the air than on the sideline.
Absolutely. So,
but yeah, it's going to be pretty good. The wide receivers is interesting. Like I said, Seattle has 3 receivers in the top 10, but Battlehawks have 2 in the top 10. One of them, Hakeem Butler, 6 receiving touchdowns, 435 yards on 42 catches. And I think 59 targets leads the league. I may be wrong on that, but he's been pretty good, and he's a big guy.
Yep.
It's going to be interesting to see. A lot of defensive playmakers as well. Tuzar, Skipper, Quinterio Cole, and on the Battlehawks side, Travis Feeney.
Yep.
All 3 of these guys. There's a lot of good players here. Interesting to see how it'll all go.
Absolutely. And that will wrap up week 9. And so we'll see how it goes, who wins, who loses. We'll see if next week will mean anything to anybody. This game is probably the key game. Seattle wins it, then they're tied, and then it comes down to the next week. At least St. Louis is at home, But who currently, as it stands, if Seattle wins this game, who would win a head-to-head tiebreaker between St. Louis and Seattle?
So it depends because the first tiebreaker is head-to-head, which would be
Okay.
1-1 if Seattle wins. Second one is divisional record, which if St. Louis loses, this is their last matchup, so they'll go to 3-3. Seattle's at 1-3, so they'll be at 2-3. They will have to win the next game, but if they do, they'll be 3-3.
Yep.
So then that one will be tied as well. Same record. Well, both of these teams lost to DC twice, and then if they're 1-1 to each other, they have the record against the teams they beat. They add up the record, so that would be a tie too.
Don't tell me it's going to get to a coin flip.
No, it's not getting that far, but it is going to get down to point differential, which right now I believe St. Louis has a 10-point lead on. But 10-point lead isn't too much to that you can lay back on.
No, not at all.
Especially when that these teams are going to know, hey, you've got to put up a lot of points.
And Seattle's shown an ability to score some points, so if they can put up a differential in a couple of these games, then they can offset that fairly quickly. So.
Yep.
All right. So who do you have to pick? Who are you going to pick in this game, though?
Oh, well, I got to take the Battlehawks. I'm always taking the Battlehawks. I think they're a good team. I worry about it because this Seattle defense is pretty good, but I think the front seven has done a lot better job at getting to the quarterback lately and getting some pressures in. I think that's going to help a lot. And also, I just think, assuming AJ McCarron is healthy, which I am assuming he is, he's been heating up down the stretch. He looks great, and I think the offense is going to look much better with him in it.
And Snortopoopas takes the team with the most points will win. I think in this case I would, but I think my head's telling me take St. Louis, but I really think Seattle may pull this game out. And because of Danucci's ability to run the ball, if he can just contain the turnovers, because in the first game they had St. Louis down. They had the lead. Had it not been for the fourth down conversion, there are other reasons that they had the advantage on St. Louis early in the season. Seattle seems to be scoring better point-wise. I think this is going to be a hard game for St. Louis at home. Last week they got run on by a very bad, pretty bad Vipers team. So I'll go with Seattle this week. We'll add some drama and some spice to it. Picking. How about that?
Well, there you go.
There you go. But yeah, we'll see. And then Seattle with the three top receivers. You don't know. I think it's really going to come down to a game of turnovers. If Brian Hill continues to fumble like he does, or if McCarron gets hurt, gets knocked out, and you got the backup in again, or if Danucci starts fumbling the ball again or throwing picks like we've seen, 10 interceptions already in 8 games. So, it's and 5 fumbles. So don't forget that either. So
yeah, it's 2 turnovers a game.
Yep, it's a big what if scenario. It's a big what if festival, and unfortunately that's the way it goes. You just have to predict based on what you think will happen, and we shall see. That's why they play the game.
That's why you play the game.
Exactly.
But here, we've got one last thing here.
Okay.
That's the playoffs, which everyone has playoff implications now, except for the 2 teams that are already in.
Before we go too far, Brian Hepburn. Hey, Brian. Hey, thanks for sneaking in here. St. Louis usually scores first and holds on to score late and win. Yes, I noticed that too. Depends on how their defense holds Seattle's offense overall. Agree completely. That's where it's going to come down to. And can St. Louis turnovers? So, all righty. Playoff implications. Here we go.
Yep. So I've got it in pretty much 3 columns. And the first one is, DC and Houston, they have already made the playoffs, but they're still trying to clinch the division. And they are pretty much a winning in. If they win, they've got the tiebreakers that they'll be sitting pretty, clinch the division, won't have anything to play for. Or if, for DC, if St. Louis loses or if Arlington loses to, St. Louis loses to Seattle or Arlington loses to DC, that doesn't matter what happens to those two teams. They'll clinch the division no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the two teams that can clinch the playoffs with a win. Yes, St. Louis, if they win, that's it. They're in. North is set. While Arlington, they can do it with a win versus DC, or if San Antonio loses versus Orlando, they're in. And then, the last two, they are eliminated. Seattle, if they lose, they're out. So this game is a big deal. Playoff implications on the line for both of them. And playoff on everyone, but this one is, a direct, Seattle. I guess they control their own destiny in a sense. But in San Antonio, they're a little bit in a worse spot. They need Arlington to lose in order to stay alive, and they also need to win as well. But if they lose or Arlington wins, they're out.
Yep. I think that San Antonio has the best chance to keep the playoff hopes alive because they should beat Orlando, especially being at home, and the Renegades should lose at DC. So they should have the best chance to continue. The Sea Dragons has probably the worst chance, being that they're going on the road to play at St. Louis, and this loss, a loss eliminates them, which makes that last week's loss even more painful. So,
all
right. Hey, late season losses can crush you very big time. So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. We've reviewed week 8. We looked at the standings. We've previewed week 9. And so, Woopah, any other thoughts about the XFL this week? Looking forward, looking backward?
No, I think it's going to be interesting. I think in theory, we could be looking back on this week and everything's decided. We could be, which will make for I don't know if it'll make for a fun week 10 or a boring week 10. Because I wonder how much there's going to be resting, because obviously these teams want to win.
Yeah.
At the same time, for these players, the goal is kind of get some tape and look good for the NFL. Are they going to want to get benched, or they want to say, "Hey, put me in. I want to show off so I can get some good game tape."
Exactly. And the one player in the league that I think has got the best game tape is was it Romo, John Parker Romo, or the kicker for San Antonio?
Oh yeah, he's looked pretty good.
10 of 11 and nail him from over 40 and 50 yards. Yeah, exactly. So, but we'll see. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching more football tomorrow. I'm going to be streaming during some of it, but I'll try to catch a lot of the first game and as much of the second game as I can. But and then try to get the games on Sunday, especially that St. Louis and Seattle matchup.
Oh yeah, it's going to be fun.
So, but you got that, and you do have
about meeting him up because he's got tickets for the game. So
there you go. Hey, have friends. The Arlington DC game has a lot riding on it too. So but yeah, especially that Seattle St. Louis game. And I hope you have a good week at the game and that it goes well and you don't get stuck in the concession lines and all that other stuff. So.
Oh yeah, hopefully not.
So all right. Well, we will go ahead and we'll wrap it up here. A couple other show notes and a couple things. As you know, normally on Friday nights, I end up going over to our buddy Mark D with the C's channel for Late Night Fortnite. But he and I have talked about things tonight, and I'm going to host Friday Night Fortnite tonight. And I don't call it Late Night Fortnite, but we're going to call it Friday After Dark. Fortnite fun. Yes, Friday After Dark. We will be 18 plus definitely for this, and who knows what will happen. And crazy things have happened on these streams, but hey, join us tonight at 11 p.m. For this. There'll be some, I might have some of y'all play too with us and see what happens. And, depending on how long Mark's there and when he shows up, we'll see what happens. But hey, join us for some Fortnite fun tonight, and we'll see what happens. And what happens in Fortnite stays in Fortnite, at least we think. And there will be gas stations that are destroyed too. And maybe some other stunts played. Yeah, but it's nothing like riding in a car with me to blow up a gas tank. So exactly, I'm getting better hang time on my explosions with the cars and stuff.
And perfecting it, putting in the work, getting some, doing some off-season training.
Exactly. Hey, earlier I stood on top of a gas pump, mega hit it, and I played my Air Jordan over to the other side of the street. So you never know. We're going to try to experiment with some kind of crazy thing. So see what happens. So, folks, join us for that tonight in just about an hour. Geez, I've got to get moving. It is crazy how time flies. Also, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, we bring back Axis and Allies when I play against the great Rambling Canuck. He will be the Allies. I will be the Axis, and we will go head to head on this one. So join us for a great strategy game. If you haven't watched these already, these are some of the videos that I have made in a playlist. I've did a show and tell with Dadman with the anniversary and the 84 classic versions of this game. Go check that out, and then check out the 2 streams that Kanak and I have done where we played against the computer and this. But tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, it'll be streamed on both YouTube and Twitch. So at Dadman Walking 55. So I hope you can join us for that. So really, really do. And hopefully you'll be there for that. But as always, I'm on YouTube and twitch.tv, both at Dadman Walking 55. Also, follow me on Twitter for the latest of updates and streams at Dadman Walking 55 also. So let me see here. A couple other thoughts. Brian Hepburn says, I'm conflicted in the Battlehawks now that they are approved to go to Los Angeles next season.
Oh, yeah, that's a April Fool's joke. Rather bad joke, but
I know. Snortapoopus, he snuffles. I have to send wishes, but the old bear needs to get beat to sleep. It's been a long, long day. Snortapoopus, yeah, you go get that sleep, because I tell you what, buddy, I appreciate it. It's 10 o'clock on the East Coast, and you're still with us and up. And thank you for hanging out with us. And, be careful of chasing too many of those walruses and seals. You never know where they've been. So just be careful out there, buddy. And yeah, definitely, Lisa, take dream of those mushrooms or maybe those calendars. So, all righty. And Mike Bowsette says it's bye for now. And Brian laughs. So, but listen, like I said, thank you for joining us tonight. Watch the games this week. ABC, ESPN, ESPN2. They're much more available. And hope to see y'all all an hour. Have some late night fun again tonight. Hanging out with some late night Fortnite Friday After Dark edition. And stunning. Yeah, Snortapoopus, dream of Dadman and Megadon blowing up gas stations. Exactly. So rest well with that, my friend. And on that good note, all right. Expect Lisa's trying to lure me with the mushrooms. She wants a new fur coat. Wise old bear. You gotta watch it. But I know I tell you, if Lisa's cooked the mushrooms, I'm sure they're really good. So, and we will have fun with that and hope to see y'all all over there. It's been, some of y'all with y'all, we might bring some of y'all in. We'll see who all is there, and we'll see how big the lobby is, and, we'll have some fun together. So on that note, folks, y'all have a good evening. I got to get ready, and thank y'all for being here. And like I said, on the YouTube side, subscribe if you haven't. Hit that like button. Thank you if you lurked out there. Thank you for watching us on Twitch. Follow us over there also. And with that, have a good night. We'll see you in a little bit. Bye.